Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in, because we are looking at a moment in tech that honestly has the entire cybersecurity world on edge. Just recently, the AI lab Anthropic did something we've never really seen before. They built their most powerful new model, Claude Mythos, and then they decided to withhold it from the public. Their reasoning? They said it's simply too dangerous. Basically, they're claiming this model can scour through millions of lines of code, find tiny, seemingly unrelated bugs, and link them all together to create massive exposures for enterprise networks. It's a huge claim. We've spent some time digging through the technical reports, looking at independent government evaluations, and also reviewing the pushback from researchers who think, well, maybe the panic is getting a little ahead of the facts here. I'm super excited to walk you through this today, because there absolutely is a real crisis happening, but actually it might not be the one making all the splashy headlines.
Okay, so let's dive straight into this. 72.4%. That is a jaw-dropping statistic, and honestly, it should stop every single security professional right in their tracks. We're looking at what is probably the cleanest, most dramatic jump in AI exploit development capabilities ever. And to be clear, we're not just talking about an AI flagging a potential bug. Exploit development means taking a discovered vulnerability and turning it into a real, working, ready-to-deploy attack. So yeah, that 72.4% success rate, that is exactly why Anthropic decided to lock this thing down.
This really paints the picture of just how massive this leap is. Look at Anthropic's previous flagship model, Opus 4.6. On these exact same exploit development tasks, it scored practically 0%, literally a flat zero. Now compare that to Mythos rocketing up to a 72.4% success rate. We went from an AI that was basically completely incapable of building a working exploit to one that nails it almost 3/4 of the time. That is just a monumental, totally unexpected jump that completely changes the threat landscape.
So what exactly is Mythos pulling off to hit that 72.4%? Well, operating at machine speed, it dug up a 27-year-old vulnerability in OpenBSD. Keep in mind, OpenBSD is known as one of the most hardcore, security-hardened operating systems out there. On top of that, it found a 16-year-old flaw in FFmpeg, a flaw that had somehow survived 5 million automated security tests. It even figured out a crazy complex browser exploit that broke out of both the renderer and the OS sandboxes to take full control of a machine. And the wildest part of all this, every single one of these discoveries came with a fully working proof of concept. No joke.
Section 1, Independent Verification and the UK AI Safety Institute findings.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This just sounds like some brilliant PR and marketing hype from Anthropic. And you know what? You'd be totally right to be a little skeptical. But here's the thing. The UK government actually stepped in and ran their own independent tests to see if these terrifying numbers were legit, and the UK AI Safety Institute confirmed it. Mythos is actively pulling off a highly advanced technique called attack chaining. Now, attack chaining isn't just spotting one isolated bug. It's like solving a giant puzzle. You find an initial vulnerability, you figure out the adjacent weaknesses in the network, and then you intelligently sequence them together into a multi-step exploit. Because in the real world, a single bug rarely brings down a whole enterprise, right? Getting from the front door to the actual target means understanding how one crack in the armor leads to the next. That is exactly how expert human hackers operate, and Mythos is doing it at machine speed. To really put this to the test, the UK Safety Institute threw a highly complex 32-step simulated enterprise network attack at Mythos. And get this, they confirmed that Mythos became the very first AI model to ever complete it. Remember how we said previous models scored a flat zero on this stuff? Well, Mythos successfully sequenced all 32 steps and achieved the objective on 3 out of 10 tries, a 30% success rate on a simulation designed to test expert-level enterprise compromises. And again, this was independently verified by a government agency. So the evidence of its sheer capability, it absolutely holds up.
Section 2, Marketing Hype versus Reality, the plot twist.
All right, but this is where we really need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Yes, the exploit development rate is incredibly real, and yes, the government verification checks out. But all these headlines screaming about an autonomous AI hacking apocalypse, they are missing some seriously critical context. Let's look at the claim that Mythos is this uniquely, singularly dangerous entity. A researcher named Stanislaw Fort actually took the exact FreeBSD bug Anthropic was showing off, and he tested it against 8 other existing models. Guess what? All 8 models found the exact same vulnerability. That even included a tiny open source model with just 3.6 billion parameters that costs literally 11 cents per million tokens to run. 11 cents! This really highlights that the capability floor across the entire AI industry is already way higher than this whole doomsday announcement makes it seem.
Plus, the idea that this is some fully autonomous AI hacking machine is probably a bit overstated. There's a lot of missing context here. For one, Anthropic hasn't disclosed any of their false positive rates. They also didn't really detail how much human review is needed from actual experts to sift through all of the AI's autonomous findings. And crucially, they didn't compare Mythos to the specialized security tools that already exist, many of which are already incredibly good at finding vulnerabilities. Honestly, just pointing an AI like Mythos at a live enterprise network isn't fully autonomous just yet. It almost certainly requires a ton of expert human operationalization to actually pose a real danger.
Which brings us to a super fascinating point from David Sachs, a former White House AI advisor. He described this whole situation as, quote, regulatory capture via doomsday framing. Think about it. Once you realize that the baseline capability is already super high, even in cheap open-source models, you kind of start to see the brand positioning at play here. By coming out and declaring their model too dangerous to release, Anthropic instantly creates this incredibly powerful mystique around it. It's honestly a brilliant PR move. It signals massive capability, it establishes their credibility as a safety-first company, and it racks up a ton of regulatory goodwill, all from a single announcement.
And you know, the timing of all this goodwill? Probably not a coincidence. Both Anthropic and OpenAI are expected to go public by the end of 2026. Right now, Anthropic is sitting on a $40 billion valuation with a major IPO on the horizon. So there's a massive financial incentive to make sure the market and the regulators perceive your flagship model as this uniquely, unbelievably powerful and dangerous technology. This doomsday framing, it's arriving at a very, very convenient time for their corporate financial goals.
Adding just a little touch of tasteful irony to all of this doomsday posturing, Anthropic actually had a pretty embarrassing security incident of their own recently. Right around the exact same time they were telling the world that Mythos was too dangerous for the public, they suffered a source code leak. Insiders found out that Anthropic accidentally shipped a full source map in an NPM package, which ended up revealing 3 shell injection bugs in their own Claude Code CLI. I mean, it really deflates that untouchable aura they were going for, right? It's just a great reminder that even the absolute geniuses building these supermodels still struggle with basic human security mistakes.
Section 3. The real structural emergency. Discovery versus remediation.
Now, what's really interesting here is that you can hold both of these truths at the same time. The 72.4% exploit rate is genuinely dangerous, and the corporate doomsday framing is highly strategic PR. But when you strip away all the hype, you uncover the real structural emergency that we all need to be paying attention to. Look at this. Before Mythos even existed, the security industry was already dealing with a massive discovery to remediation problem. Right now, as we speak, over 45% of discovered vulnerabilities in large organizations sit completely unpatched for more than a year. We don't have a problem finding bugs, guys. We have an absolute mountain of them. The problem is, we just don't fix them.
And that leads us straight to the core issue. Organizations just fundamentally lack the security engineering capacity to actually act on the vulnerabilities they already know they have. Now, Anthropic did launch something called Project Glasswing alongside Mythos. This gives 40 top organizations, we're talking giants like Amazon, Cisco, JP Morgan, a 6 to 12-month head start to use the model defensively. But listen, while giving 40 elite companies an advantage is great for them, it does absolutely zero to fix the systemic lack of security engineering capacity in the vast majority of companies around the world.
Section 4. The Remediation Playbook and Actionable Strategy.
Okay, so here's the deal. Thanks to models like Mythos, the rate at which we discover vulnerabilities is about to absolutely skyrocket. But the rate at which humans can actually patch them, that is staying totally flat. So, if you're a security leader, you need to step back from all this AI hype and execute what we're calling the remediation velocity checklist. Number 1, you need to measure your discovery versus remediation order of magnitude. Are you currently finding 10 times more bugs than your team can actually patch? Number 2, immediately target and fix those critical vulnerabilities that have been sitting unpatched for over 12 months. And number 3, you have to honestly assess your human security capacity against the sheer volume of incoming alerts. Mythos didn't create this problem, it just put a giant magnifying glass on a structural failure that was already there.
Which leaves us with this final, truly critical question to ask ourselves. If AI can now find bugs and sequence complex attacks at machine speed, can your organization even patch at human speed? Understanding that exact tension is the real takeaway from this entire Claude Mythos announcement. The threat isn't just the AI itself. The real threat is our own internal organizational bottlenecks. I highly encourage you to take a hard look at your own network's remediation velocity today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the data.